But we send them out to other counties.
Okay, at a cost or?
No, that's kind of a good thing all the way around. You know, they go to the other county and they pay the freight. We used to pay a little money to White County to keep some spots open, but we don't do that anymore. So, yeah.
All right, good. And I guess, in conjunction with the thoughts of a potential new jail, and I concur, I think it's time we do something. I certainly do. But in conjunction, I would challenge that we at least consider a work release center. When Brethren's Home in Flora first went defunct, I'm like, what a perfect opportunity we have. It's, you know, individual rooms. It wasn't ready for a bulldozer. It is now. But that would have been, I thought, at the time, a perfect opportunity, perfect facility for something like that. But I think we probably should look at something in conjunction with doing what we're doing here. It would help to alleviate future pressure at the jail system later down the road.
Yes.
Yeah, Rex Millhouse. Y'all know me, I think. Couple quick questions. One for the sheriff. How many level 6 felons do we currently house?
At last count today, was 64, at least over 30 of those were level 6.
30 of them are
Yeah.
out. Second question is, if council sees fit to go ahead and enact this tax, and some illustrious person in the jail happens to file a lawsuit against us, will that predicate an action that we are involved in creating a new jail? Any attorneys can answer that question?
No, I've asked that question, and no, we have to go to them. That can't alleviate that problem. They can still sue us whether we go to jail in the plan or not.
Okay.
So we could pay both costs.
Right.
Thank you.
Steve Pearson, Commissioner of Carroll County. I just want to ask you guys to enforce this tax. It's a start, $722,000 for 19 and a half of 20, so you had about 1.2 million with the 1.5 we already have. That's money we're going to save on top of everything else.
Well,
Yeah, I'm Will Davis, I'm corrections officer at jail. I'm with Steve, we need to do this tax. But I don't know if you thought about, if we don't build this jail and the feds come in, that jail's gonna go from 14 million to $45 million. So is it best to pay the 2% tax or wait for the 45 million that's gonna come from the feds? Which means a lot more. If feds come in, they would demand it. Is that not right, Sheriff?
In a roundabout way, yes.
well,
I'm Lisa Bill. I guess my question is, and I still don't understand it. When we talked, you had a 42% recidivism rate back in May.
Okay.
How will the new jail alleviate that? Or will it?
I'm not real sure if I can answer that, Lisa. We can only control what these individuals do so much through the system.
So it really isn't, the new jail isn't likely a deterrent for recidivism?
That's up to each individual, I would assume.
Someone was talking about the meth. They just said,
What?
about the recent meth bust. I don't know. What is the likelihood of their reoffending? I mean, was that, were they all then charged with level 6?
Well, now those cases don't happen to be in my court, so I can't speak about specific things, but what you're asking about is what is the likelihood that an individual is gonna be a recidivist, meaning that they're going to reoffend at some point in the future.
Right.
And I don't think, I mean, there are a number of factors that go into that go all the way back to, you know, what happened to them when they were 8 years old. And I don't think the number of jail beds, one way or the other, has anything to do with whether or not people commit additional crimes after their first crime or after, you know, additional ones after whatever crime. I don't think there's any relation there.
Okay.
I might, let me put in on this. You're asking if somebody
I guess
comes.
I don't see the jail as a solution to a drug problem, I guess is really.
I'm John Randall. I'm a corrections officer at the jail. I'm trying to answer her question.
Okay, I just want to remind you that we're here to talk about the tax.
We had a
I mean,
to
we can
answer,
measure some, but let's
Yeah.
don't get clear away from the subject.
answer her question, sort of. We just had a subject come back in today. It's about our 4th time coming back in, reoffending.
Well, and that's kind of my point,
Yeah,
that
we've-
spend as much as you want, you're just gonna fill it.
Yeah,
So-
they will be there no matter what.
I just don't see the tax as the solution to the problem.
Just something I want to be clear, and Paul Ryder couldn't be here with us today, he's our 7th council person. We discussed this in the last meeting, but the tax is for a, and that's why I think that it's good to have this conversation, because it can be used for a jail, rehab facility, work release facility. The solution that the community wants to come up with is the discussion that we have next. But, you know, given our financial position, we're not gonna be able to pay for that out of the monies that we have right now, and that's why, you know, us being good financial stewards want to get this figured out, because everybody knows we have a problem. We just need to have the debate going forward about what the solution is.
Okay, my final comment, why don't we talk about the problem before we tax everybody for a solution, that we haven't identified the problem?
Well,
I mean, we know we're overcrowding, but we
yeah,
can move
and
those.
and we will talk about that in our closing statement.
I guess I would say, at this point, I'm not in favor of it, because we don't know what we're doing. If you can't identify the problem, you can't manage the problem. You want to throw more money at it, well, let's just throw more money at it, that's not a solution.
Sir, in the back row.
My name is Rod Jewell, and I live in Greenhurst. I support the tax 100%. I don't think that it speaks of the urgency of the problem. We're talking about 2 to 3 years down the line, that's an eternity when everything's broken. And I can see, like somebody mentioned earlier, if there would be a fire per se, and there would be death loss, we wouldn't have near enough money to cover that. And my concern about waiting 2 or 3 years to do anything and saving the money is, yeah, we'll have 2 million, give or take, but by the time, I know from building things myself that we are gonna probably lose that much if we wait 3 years to start building a new facility in the rising cost of construction, materials and such. So I agree with the tax, I just don't think it speaks of the urgency, that we need a new jail, we need it yesterday.
I think it's
Name?
Jeff Wise. I think we're having a good conversation. It is about the tax. I know it's about the tax. With community corrections, we seem to be having some success there with some people. It seems to be working. We're a new program. Trinity Missions, I know, met with the commissioners. I've met with Trinity Missions twice. We're looking at spiritual-based programs. So there are things we're looking at, but it is about the tax. And as Mr. Scott said, he's got 3 years worth on his desk right there of jail information. That's about another 2.2 million we would have right now. So I think we've got to move forward, or we're going to be here You know, we'd be halfway there if we'd started 5 years ago.
I'm Bill Brown, one of the commissioners, and normally I'm the first one to holler no when I say new tax, because I don't like tax. We looked, when the sheriff, well, 2 or 3 sheriffs back, and I looked at the nursing home out south of town out here when it became empty. And at that time, we were looking at the potential of bringing in close to $1 million a year off of it if people pay to be in that program. Unfortunately, when I really put a pencil to it, it came out that we would have 1.3 or so expense out of doing it. So it did not pay for itself. The situation that the judges spoke of putting it out in other, putting them out in work release in other communities is much more economical for us. I'm thinking that this is the right route to go, is to, as the council is urging, is to begin to save for something. I do not feel like we need to run around like chickens with our head cuts off and say, we gotta do something tomorrow, because we don't. We have time here to start raising some money, as they have suggested wisely, and find the right thing, whether it is more jail cells, whether it's other programs, drug programs, whatever. We need to have this whole general discussion between the council, commissioners, and the community about, now, we've got some money coming in. Now we can look at really doing something, but what are we gonna do? And I certainly don't have all the answers, but we all will come up with an answer. And so, I support what we're doing.
Yes.
I'm Linda Brown. I'm the wife of John Brown, who's the other commissioner. And he's been on the jail committee with the sheriff and several others for probably, 2 years, working on this, and he is totally for it. He wants the tax. I'm here representing him because he's in favor.
Anyone else? Judge?
Melinda Rossetter, 6496 North, US Highway 421, Delphi. I just want to speak to the purpose of this meeting and about raising the funds, and maybe a response to, you don't know what you're doing yet, so why do you need the money now? But kind of relate that to if I was gonna buy a new car or a new refrigerator at my home, I wouldn't go shopping for it until I knew how much money I had and to work with. And that's basically the purpose of this meeting. So please keep that in mind.
I'm Clara Ryder. I'm a past commissioner.
Please stand. Please stand.
I don't know if I can or not. Thank you. See, I guess I haven't been in office for about 17 or 18 years. But when I was in, we knew then we had a problem. We were told then we had a problem. And I, for one, researched a lot of ideas about maybe adding on to the jail or expanding it, buying the lot further on the south side of it, and different ideas. But everything that I researched came up blank. There was too many problems connected with it. We really cannot put this off. It's just kind of like if you got a leak in your roof and you ignore it. The leak doesn't go away, it just gets worse. And finally, you have to replace a lot of ceilings. We don't want to have to replace a lot of ceilings. We need to have this money so we can start really studying what we need to do.
Steve Boo, and I just have a couple questions. My wife's more educated on this than I am. But do we know what the state minimums for jails are going to be in terms of bed per county, per population? Or are we just looking at it thinking this is what we're gonna need based on our past records?
The easiest way I can respond to that, Steve, is that I know that the Indiana Department of Corrections, whatever the size of the jail is, they consider a county jail at maximum capacity at 80%. So as an example, where we currently are, we should be at 27. And the reason is that 80% is what the Department of Corrections sets, that we have to have people at that level so that we can classify. Obviously, we separate males and females, but we also, and we're not currently classifying because of our overpopulation, but we break that down into obviously male, female, felon, misdemeanors, and various other categories in a flow chart fashion. So the state requires that each county jail be at 80% capacities for classification purposes. As far as a number, I honestly don't think there's a set number per se.
So if that's the case, what are we building for? Are we building for future projections? I mean, you yourself said it's becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger issue.
Yeah.
So are we gonna meet the minimums when we build a new jail? Are we gonna overcompensate in anticipation of increased crime, increased incarceration? And if we're gonna increase the size in anticipation of incarceration increases, does what we're talking about now, the 2%, does that even meet what we need? Doesn't that have to be factored into your decision?
This ordinance is allowed by the state, and they dictate the amount. We do not do that.
So that would be the point. The point would be, if you're raising money for a jail that may be insufficient by the time you build it.
But at least you have that much money. You wouldn't have any. You wouldn't have any saved. You don't have any saved. How
If you went out and
would
bought,
you save it?
if you went out and bought the bond tomorrow, the commissioners have a signed contract for $12 million to build a jail. We're gonna bond out, you're gonna bond it out all at once. You're not gonna bond it out in pieces. It'll cost you a small fortune. You bond, you go to the bank, you go to the bonding agency, and we want $12 million to pay for our jail, and we make payments as we go on that. So you're gonna, as soon as the first shovel gets dug, you're gonna start making payments on whatever you're doing, remodeling, whatever. Well, our tax rate now doesn't cover for that. So all what you're doing is that is putting 700 and some thousand in the account to start that first bond payment before technically they've got a whole year of 2019, the commissioners do, to make up their mind what they're gonna do. And then we've got 700 and some thousand in the bank here to say that's the first year's payment of that bond. Whatever you do, remodel, build, whatever. That's all this is really doing, okay? I mean, so, yeah, the fear that I see is that bond rates are going up. They're not going down with the current rate of society. I serve on the Twin Lakes Regional Sewer District. We just did, less than a year ago, we rolled $35 million bond we wrote 3 different bonds into one bond because it was a cheaper interest rate. And we're gonna save the Twin Lakes Regional Sewer District customers over $1.5 million during that 20-year process. We're not gonna have that. We have no money set aside to make a down payment or anything on that. The $1.5 million that's sitting there in rainy day right now, it's there, but you're not gonna, it's designed, I feel it's for the soft goods inside the jail.
In the ordinance, it is.
Yeah, the beds, all that stuff, okay? We're just, this bond, if they decide whatever, just the repairing part of it or building the new one. I mean, I know Umball says that, oh, you can afford a $14 million bond. I don't see it. It's $10 million max.
That's
Max.
what you mean.
Yeah, do the math. 10 million is still, is gonna be at that $700,000. Stop, that's it. If you can only build 65 beds, then that's all you build.
Even if that
Doesn't satisfy, okay, so we've got 4 years down the road. The new jail, I mean, if you build a new one, then make sure make sure you've got plans to make it go, okay, we need to add another wing on. You can attach another wing on this easy.
So how do you raise those funds?
Then we'll rebond out. If it costs us another 10 million, then you can, like what we did at the sewer district, we'll save taxpayers money. I don't know, this isn't gonna be an overnight, one-time fix. I don't see
Well,
it
that's my
happening yet.
point.
It's not going to be. I mean, we kind of waited too long, but then we were in a financial trouble. When I got on here 8 years ago, we were in trouble. We couldn't pay bills.
We still are, aren't we?
No, no. We live within our means. And that's why we don't have no notes on this county right now. And you should be proud of this council and these commissioners and these elected officials living in that budget. When we say no, it's not because, oh, they don't like us, and then everyone gets, and we always start in the arguments. But it's not because of that, it's because we're fiscal and we are state fiscal for 8 years. We are so much better off than any county in the state right now having debt. The only debt that we have is the TIF district. It's not really ours. I mean, it is ours if they can't make the payment, but us taxpayers are going to pay it. But right now, we're debt-free. I mean, yeah, I wish we could wait 10 years until we had 10 million in the bank from this little tax and say, okay, we'll pay for it. Like they did in Bill, that's not how it happened in '83, that jail was paid for. They did open. We just don't have that luxury right now. We just don't have that luxury to say we're going to have 10 million in the bank 10 years from now to have that. I hope that answers your question.
How much is in the account to shift the offenders out of county? Or do we know?
For out-of-county housing, this year was $250,000, for 2019 we put in 100,000. Last I checked, there was still a bunch left.
So there is money to spend there.
There is money, but they're not taking
No
it.
place to send
They're
it.
not going to take it.
Yeah,
That's why there's money in the cup.
the window's closed.
But we were only offering the 35, if I understood you right.
That's state rate.
That's
We
state.
didn't offer 40 to move them out.
Okay,
Marion
we're-
County offering the 40.
let's-
Right.
As long as we're gonna talk about the tax.
Tracy Martin. My question is if the feds come in and say you have to build a new jail, or you have to do something, how are you gonna pay for it then? Where does the tax come from? Do they tell us your tax rate's gonna be this? And it could be more than 0.2%, and it would go
Will
up
be
to
more.
2.0%. So we have the control right now, to whereas if you let it go to the feds, there's no control and there's no vote, and you pay what they
But there
say.
is control. You have a constitutionally capped property tax rate, and you've also got a state capped income tax.
But that would most
Well,
likely
you're
be,
gonna max it.
they're gonna max it.
We're gonna max it on this
Yeah.
jail, that's what I'm saying. The idea that we're gonna build a $40 million jail, we can't.
I thought we had like
capped property tax rate.
1.9% leeway.
Right, we're gonna have to increase it to build what we've been given here for a new jail.
Unless we do this tax right now and start saving.
And you still have to increase your expenditure rate and then fund it through property tax.
But what you're
Well,
doing right now is going to be cheaper than if the feds come in and say, you're gonna do this.
Yes, I would agree. I mean,
I would think so.
I would think, yeah, I guess I would think so. I would hope so.
I don't think anybody would assume that anything the federal government does is gonna be cheap.
So just to say, that's the reason I support the tax, is that I would rather you have more control over than somebody coming in and telling us what we're gonna do.
John Randall, who worked at the jail. Could we also add what we get from the state? We put in for we send the bill to the state for housing DOC inmates, the level 6s. They pay us $35 a day. Some of it we get back is around 5,000, some, it differs per month. Could we add that into the account to help.
How many of those are in there right now, you know, offhand?
Ru-
Level 6 is.
You're talking ones over level 6, it could be, you know.
Level 6 is
Yeah,
above.
around 30. But
33.
the state is slow to reimburse us.
Yeah.
Just recently, we received our November, December 2017 payment that I submitted to the auditor, which that funding currently goes back into county general.
And these are people that are actually in there for more serious crimes than level 6.
Level 6 and above.
Level 6 and above.
So it's less severe.
Yeah, you go level 6, level 5, 4,
Yeah.
3, 2, then you got murder.
Yeah.
And
Why are we housing them at all? Why don't we get them people out of there and make room for everybody else?
We're waiting on DOC to provide us with acknowledgement that they will accept them.
there's a criteria.
That's what I'm just getting at here, is if you can ship them to a state facility.
Oh,
Right,
get them out of there.
right. But we have to wait for the state to give us the green light to do that.
I'm sure if you could do without them, you would.
Yeah,
Right,
as soon as I get,
That's what I've done the whole time here, is I've asked for the judges, prosecutor, everybody get in the same room and figure something out. We're all here. Finally, we're here.
but I didn't know if we can
An ordinance. I
transfer,
mean, it's,
instead of going to the general fund, it'll help out with the new jail.
how many pre-trials in there right now, do you know,
I don't have that breakdown.
some of that stuff we've been told by DLZ was 40% of the average population in jail was pre-trial. That's just people sitting in there for a few months.
The state,
You know, appreciate Judge Fouts' effort there to try to get them out of there as best you can. That's why I keep looking at for, is there something else we can do here to get some people out? Maybe we've expended all this we can in community corrections or whatever, but, you know, I don't wanna just say build a building. I wanna look at every other option we can first, and then as last resort, go. Maybe we're there, I don't know.
the fact is, this money also helps take care of work release or any other program like that, as long as it's jail related. So,
We can have that debate.
and those programs cost money. I mean, right now, they're not costing money, but we send them to Monticello, you said, or White County. But if we start our own, it's gonna cost money. We're gonna have to hire people, we're gonna have to buy buildings to put these people in, for the program. It's not gonna come free.
One other thing I want to comment on is Prosecutor McClellan going to be here, but his statement there is basically, we're not going to stop sending them going after bad guys.
Say again, please.
We're not going to stop going after and catching these bad guys. You know, that jail's going to be full within 2 years. We're not addressing the problem. And like Mrs. Bo said, we don't have a lack of jail problem, we have a drug problem. Address the problem. It's not lack of space, it's a drug problem. You could have 100 beds, you could have 120 beds. When your prosecutor says we're gonna catch all these bad guys and send them, it's gonna be full within 2 years. Address the problem. That's the only thing I've been asking for, is address the problem. How many people have part of how many people are part of the general population are in jail right now? That are actually the drug users in the county? I mean, it's a very, very small percentage. Do we want to catch every single one of them? Is it even possible to? I mean, we need to come to grips with where we're at here. There's a large segment of our population that has a drug issue. There's a very small percentage of that portion of the population that's in the jail. It's a drug problem. Like Jeff has said, you know, there's ways to treat these people instead of sticking them in a jail cell. And that is the intent of that bill. I don't know how many of you did research on what 1006 was. Here's a quote from the author of it. This is from an Indy Star story in 2015 when they passed it. House bill authored by Greg Starwald. He's quoted right here. He called the bill an historic moment. This is a culmination of a seismic shift in the way we're addressing criminal justice in the state of Indiana. Said during the Monday vote, this is a way to make sure we're keeping people out of jail and keeping families together. This is not a build a jail bill to cause a problem. It's a treat people differently problem that have drug and mental issues. We're not addressing the core problem. We're just trying to build a building and you're gonna fill it within 2 years. Now, I'd rather have the discussion now than drive by it where it's located, which that's a whole nother ball of worms, where you're gonna put it. And drive by there and, you know, that one's full. I remember sitting in this courthouse saying it's gonna be full. You know, I don't want that to be when you already got the bill for it. It's a larger problem. We're not addressing the larger problem.
Because we haven't identified the problem. We
Can I
just want to
say
throw money.
something back to John's question about whether the DOC payments can go into that fund? I am going to conference next week and I can ask, 'cause I'm not sure that then you can,
We've discussed
that I could get state board of accounts.
diverting money before and the DOC's been no.
Still check this.
Yeah, you're right, you can't.
You can't
I don't
have
think you
funds.
can.
I mean, the same rules are set up for every government in the state.
But ask, maybe it's changed. You wouldn't hurt that.
Well, how about, what do you think about going big or staying home? Maybe Toad said we got outbid by another county, shipping our people out. Every county is in the same situation. I would think if you had a business presentation to present to the bond people and said, you know what? We don't wanna just meet a minimum. We wanna make money on housing criminals from other counties. Because that, well, let's see, we're at odds on this, but if that's the case, if every county is in the same condition we are and need to house their criminals somewhere, and they don't wanna build a jail, or they're in the same boat as we are, Toad gets outbid by other counties by $15 over $35, or 55 versus
Some-
35.
Some have done that, and you know what they fill them with? Their own people, which is just what I said.
Exactly.
Well, let's put, house other people, let's put our
Well,
own
it depends
people.
on how you
And then they get no money back.
Let's go back to
Can we-
the tax here.
That is back to the tax.
No, it's not.
I'm just saying.
I guess for me, the issue back to tax is, you know, we have a larger problem to talk about, and we're trying to get this bill through to get it instituted to start saving money in jail. I mean, it's gonna take 2-3 years to build a jail. If somebody sues it for inhumane conditions, you're talking 2-3 years to get in court. You pass this tax, it's effective tonight. Or you can punt it a year and talk about it, and then you decide to do it. I mean, I can appreciate you're gonna save money and not pay interest on it. I'm very financially conservative. I can appreciate the fact of why pay interest on it. And like Jamie said, why don't we have some longer term plan here? Let's save half of it. We don't have that plan. We've got this ordinance that passed once for 0.2% for something. That's what we know at this point. It's for something. I don't wanna vote on something. I want to see a plan.
Okay, the other deal is, our jail has to be rehabbed regardless. We keep it and we use it, it's gotta get fixed. We can't pay, you can't keep paying $1,000 a fixture to get things replaced. So this money provides for that.
That's exactly right. This money, I mean, you start taking it in, are you gonna start getting this money in quarterly? How will this money be used? Or-
I don't know how it comes in, they haven't said, I don't think. This is new.
Because
So
it'll be
they
new,
haven't
so.
said.
Monthly, quarterly.
Yeah, but, I mean, you've got,
It's the way they
we've
pay
got
it.
repairs.